And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will be discussing an interview that Nipsey Hussle did about 2 years ago, where he was able to articulate and explain why cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is extremely important and why this is basically the bankers and the financial elites' karma. And I always say this on this channel. In my opinion, a mark of intelligence is when a person can take something that's complex and they can explain it and break it down where the average day-to-day person who isn't involved in the technology can understand it. And that's what Nipsey Hussle was able to do. And that's why I created my tech academy, was to be able to take something like cryptography and hash functions and digital signatures and all of these different crypto projects and be able to condense it in a way and be able to explain it and articulate it to the average person. Because if this technology is going to be successful, we are going to need to onboard. That means bring a lot of people in to this space, because the reality is this: crypto is our last shot. If crypto isn't successful in a meaningful way, then we're done. And that's just a reality. If we're not successful in a meaningful way, we're not going to be able to do what's necessary and be able to actually beat the bankers. That's just the reality, because they're winning. They are definitely sending us for a wild ride. So as you come into the live stream, please like the video, share the video, subscribe. Make sure that you hit the notification bell. If you can see and hear me clearly, please definitely type 1. Make sure that you subscribe to my mailing list so that you can be notified via email every time that I'm going live, because sometimes YouTube will not send out my notifications depending on what's the topic of discussion for that day. Also, if you're interested in learning about blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, I created my tech academy. We have a free 7-day trial where you can test it out. If you like what you see, you can stick around. A link to my tech academy will be in the description below. And as I said, we have a free 7-day trial. If you want to contact me, a link to my Instagram will be in the description below. Simply follow me on Instagram, shoot me over a message, and we can begin to dialogue in the DMs. So everyone is typing 1, so therefore everything looks like it's okay. Someone said that I was dropping out. Looks pretty fine to me. I'm checking the stream health, so it looks like I'm doing pretty well. So let's move this here so we can get ready to play this. Let's turn this off. So everyone's typing 1. Looks like I'm good. So I'm going to play the interview, the first 2 to 3 minutes of what Nipsey Hussle had to say. Then I'm going to give my commentary, share some information, and we'll go and play it back.
Longer than us.
I've always feel like one of the things I admire about you the most is you're always very forward thinking.
Right.
You were on a panel at Complex Con. What are some of the takeaways that you would want people to know about, like, digital currency? Or...
It's a way to think about money. It was 3 or 4 different perspectives. I was one of them. And the convo was just about what is money in 2017 going into 18. You know, is it paper? You know, is it agreed value? What makes something currency? You know, so that was what the debate was, and everybody was revolving around that as a question. But just cryptocurrency is, I think it's like a form of karma. I think that the banks had such a crooked model that the engineers and software designers and programmers was like, we're not gonna fix this with a protest. We're not gonna fix this with a march on Wall Street. We're gonna fix this with technology. And they created a equalizer that just checkmated the whole game. You know, that's my view on it. It's just like the energy balancing out what went wrong over there, and just the disadvantage that the people were at the cryptocurrencies balancing that out, or will in the long run. It's gonna take a while, but it's gonna create an option, and you're not gonna have to go operate in that system that led to like 2008, all the banks collapsing and the real estate bubble and all the malpractice of power that, was happening in the banking industry and the central banks and all that. So it's like, damn, that was slick. Whoever came up with that was slick. If you really peep it from a political point of view,
For sure.
you know what I mean? That was real effortless checkmate. You know what I mean? They exited before anybody knew what was up.
And they still got bailed out.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy. It's interesting conversation. I've had it with some people, and some people are like stuck on money so much, and I'm like, man, money's not even backed by the gold system anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is it really worth? It's whatever we, want to put on it, but really it's just a piece of paper. Just like a credit card, just a piece of plastic, and it's the inferred value that we put on it. And as long as everybody assumes that it's worth that, it is. But if somebody tomorrow's like, that's not worth shit, it's really not backed by anything. So it's like, why not try out a new currency?
It's a lot of reasons that, political reasons why it's a big thing, and it's financial reasons why it's a big thing, and even like on a simple level of like sending money overseas or something, to be able to do that peer-to-peer and not have no middleman with a fee, and with a policy, it's just a direct transaction that's, regulated by a public ledger. That's a big innovation if you understand like banking and PayPal and all that type of shit. Somebody told me that it's like what the internet was in like the early 90s. And think about what that turned into and all the billion-dollar businesses that was built off of that. That's like what the cryptocurrency, blockchain opportunity is similar to. So it'll take a while before we see it mature and really turn into what it can potentially be.
Right. And you're not just talking about it, you actually invested in the company.
Yeah, definitely. Follow coin. It's a coin.
I love his explanation. He touched on so many different things that I constantly speak about on this channel, about the dollar being backed by nothing but debt and confidence, about the whole idea that having a public ledger where you can see everything that's happening brings so much transparency to what's happening in this system. Understanding that you're not going to fix what's happening in the economy with a protest. You're not going to fix what's happening with income inequality by just voting for the correct person. Because the Fed, and if you understand central banking, you would understand that the Fed is the one that's behind all of the booms and busts that's happening. And what happened in 2008 is happening again today, right now, in 2020, where the rich raped, robbed, and pillaged. I was breaking this down on this channel about how this economy was in a bubble, how Main Street was not seeing any of the economic gains that Trump kept touting, talking about the economy was doing well. A rising stock market is not a reflection of Main Street, of everyday people. When the manufacturing sector in our economy was in a recession, was contracting, when we were going through a trade war, where we were losing so many jobs, not just to shipping jobs overseas, but also due to technology. Like so many of the things that I've been speaking about, he was able to sum up in a 2-minute video. And that's why Bitcoin was created in 2008, and the first Genesis block was mined in January 3rd, 2009. The reason why this happened is because even in the Genesis block, Satoshi put they're on the brink of a second bailout. And here we've watched we watched the Fed pump trillions of dollars through the repo market, we watched Trump slash tax rates for the top 1%. We watched the stock market go to all-time highs. Then the coronavirus happened. That was the pin that popped the bubble. And then what did the Fed do? Literally printed trillions of dollars out of thin air and bailed out Wall Street again. So they did record stock buybacks. Trump and everyone was promising, if we cut taxes for the rich, we're going to have trickle-down economics, and we're going to see a boom in hiring. Soon as they got the tax breaks, they didn't hire more people. They didn't invest in CapEx. They went and did stock buybacks, which rewards shareholders. Well, guess what? The top 1% owns more than 50% of the stocks in the stock market. So when they're doing these stock buybacks, they are the shareholders. So they're getting these they're getting these tax cuts, promising that they're going to hire people. They don't hire more people, so they make money on the way up, they make money on the way down, and then they get bailed out when everything goes wrong. And then they make you wait, 6 weeks, 7 weeks to get $1,200. But in a matter of a week, the Fed start announcing lending facilities and lending programs. And I want to play this for you because this right here is so problematic as to what the problem is. This is right here, Jerome Powell, right? This is the Federal Reserve chairman telling you. I mean, they're so bold, they don't even hide it anymore. They literally print money out of thin air. So listen to this.
Banks simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
Simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities, and that actually increases the money supply. We also print actual currency, and we distribute that through the Federal Reserve banks.
Simply flooded the system.
They're so bold. I mean, they don't even hide it anymore that they literally print money out of thin air. Like, they just come out and they say it. Now you have to ask yourself, who is this money going to? And who is this money not going to? And that's why it strikes me as odd when I always constantly hear people trying to somehow say that, Bitcoin is a scam, and that, who is Satoshi Nakamoto? As if the current debt-based fractional reserve banking system that we live in is any better. Clearly, there's something wrong with the money and the monetary system that we live in. We're witnessing the greatest levels of income inequality in modern history. Like, seriously, here in New York City, you can walk down the block, and on this block right here, there will be $6 million, $8 million, $10 million brownstones. And then you walk right across the street, and it's the projects. Like, when you see this type of stuff, you say to yourself, this is asinine. Like, this doesn't make any sense. But this is all done by design. Now, Joel Hogan said, can you exactly explain how crypto fixes this? Number one, you're dealing with a fixed, hard capped asset. You cannot print more Bitcoin, right? You have to physically mine the Bitcoin, which means you have to use very, very expensive mining equipment to do so. And you have to actually use a lot of electricity. And Bitcoin, there will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. So that eliminates the whole idea of being able to just print money out of thin air. See, when you understand that you can't print it out of thin air, okay, that solves that problem. You don't get to pick and choose who the Bitcoin actually goes to, right? So that eliminates everything right there. The ledger being public, you can see everything that's happening inside of the network. So we can see who's getting bailed out. We can see who's not getting bailed out. Right now with the repo market, we don't know who's getting these bailouts. We don't know who this money, which banking institution is being able to access the repo market. which then can pump that money into different companies. When we watch the stock market take off in early September and boom up into December of 2019, the Fed injected $9 trillion into the repo market. I have videos breaking this down on this channel to the tune of about $150 billion a day. The stock market right now just started selling off again. But we're about what? 5% from all-time highs? 10% from all-time highs? I believe the NASDAQ was up 11% for the year at this point from the coronavirus breakdown. How is that happening when these companies are shut down? They have no earnings. They have no growth. They have this because the Fed can literally print money and bail people out. And now they're saying they're going to buy junk bonds, ETFs, and corporate debt. You can't do that in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin crashes 20%, it crashes 20%. No one's coming to bail it out. Because no one owns Bitcoin. It's a protocol. It's a network. It's open source technology. You can go pull up the GitHub repository and you can see everything that's happening with the code. So I don't have to trust in 12 men. Think about how this is why I laugh when people talk about capitalism. This isn't a capitalistic society. It may be for the elite. We may have crony capitalism. When you have 12 men and women that meet in a room and they decide what the interest rate is going to be, when they decide who's going to get bailed out, when they decide what lending facilities and programs they're going to create, it's called central banking. If you have a centralized economy where 12 people dictate the value and the price of money, that's not free market capitalism. That's not a free market economy. Literally, your Federal Reserve chairman can wake up tomorrow and he can decide to go slash rates to negative. You cannot do that in Bitcoin. It doesn't work that way. And when you understand cryptography and you understand the importance of that, you understand why this is happening. Because when you look at the value of the dollar, and I always love to show this picture right here, this image. If you took a dollar from 1913, the value of the dollar, what it could purchase, it's lost over 90% of its purchasing power because the Fed loves to create inflation. This is how the economy operates off of inflation. So if you're saving money, you're losing 3% on average every year. And that's if you believe in the CPI data that they're giving you. So when I hear people say that Bitcoin is a scam, no, your dollar is a scam. Fractional reserve banking is a scam. So when Nipsey said that this is the banking karma, this is people trying to solve a problem. And when people say, well, I don't know who Satoshi is, that's the point. You don't have to know who Satoshi is. In 2020, I should have a level of privacy as to when I want to transact online and I want to buy goods and services. You don't need to know who I am. I don't need to know your name, your address, where you live. I need to know if whether or not the goods and services that you're selling actually works. And when you're dealing with a trustless system where I don't have to trust you, I can verify. That solves so many different problems. Think about this right now. If you're a merchant and you've ever dealt with PayPal, you know how hard it is with PayPal can literally freeze your account and there's nothing you can do about it. I've had it happen to me. PayPal, you can have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in your account and they can shut it down because you're trusting a third party. Go to the bank and try to go out and try to go into a bank and deposit $50,000 or $60,000 and see if they don't treat you like you're a criminal with your own money. When you're dealing with a peer-to-peer public ledger, all I need is Alice's public address, and I can send her $5, $10, $50 million. Within a matter of 10 minutes, it will be in her Bitcoin wallet or her Ethereum wallet, whichever cryptocurrency she wants to use. It removes the need of a middleman. It removes the need of having to use banks. You and I should be able to interact with each other peer to peer without having that happen. Why does Nike need to know my name, my address, my date of birth, and my banking information? Why can't I give them a public address? When I say address, I'm talking about cryptography. Because see, when you understand, and I cover this in my Tech Academy, and this is why a lot of you should take my Tech Academy so that you can learn about public key cryptography. The whole idea of being a cypherpunk is utilizing technology to give you privacy. Follow me here. I should be able to give you my public address and then sign that transaction with my private key, and you ship me my goods without you having to know who I am. I should be synonymous from that public address. You do not need my personal identity to do that. Because if you understand cryptography, you have a public key, you have a public key and a private key, which is hashed together, which gives you a public address. The address is what you give to people to send to you. And because the address and the keys have a mathematical relationship because of hash functions, once you take that, now I can verify that I am who I said I am with a digital signature and get my goods and services. Because see, when you give up so much of your information, you're giving up all of your privacy. And you should not have to give up your privacy. But so many of you don't value that data. What are they doing with this data? Why does Nike need to have that much information about you? Why should they be allowed to cookie you and follow you from website to website to website? See, when you start going down this rabbit hole, it's about monitoring, tracking you. And if you read 1984 and you read Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World, you would understand that the New World Order isn't coming. It's here. 1984 isn't coming. It's here. Now, what's scary about that is you have so many people who actually love this system. And that's what actually scares me, is that you'll see people take out their phone and they will record themselves in the shower, in their bedroom. Big Brother's with you everywhere. And people actually like recording themselves. People don't like privacy. They record their most intimate moments. They record themselves giving birth. They record themselves doing drugs. Hell, you even got people recording themselves committing crimes. You have to make sure that you are educating yourself as to what's going on, because it's in your face right now. Right? I show you this time and time again, and I bring this chart up so you can understand what's going on. This blue line represents all of the debt in the system. We're talking about Medicare. We're talking about all of the different debts in the system, right? We're talking about the healthcare. We're talking about pensions. We're talking about all of the government debt. We're almost at $80 trillion. This red line represents all of the actual physical money in circulation, the M2, the money stock. It's $18 trillion. So it's more debt in the system than there is money, because it's all about making you a debt slave. This system cannot function without debt, because that's what gives the dollar value. You go take out a 30-year mortgage that's denominated in dollars, which forces you to have to keep working for dollars, right? Because you don't want to lose your house. You need your house, right? So it makes you go out and keep working for dollars and puts you on that hamster wheel. That's what gives the dollar value. It's not guns, it's not the military, it's debt. And then they go out and they put the rest of the world in debt. So now you have the rest of the world that's stuck in debt. Now, when you understand that, and that's what Nipsey was talking about the political aspect about this, that you have China and you have Russia and you have Iran, and they're saying they want to get away from the dollar. Because remember, you know what gave the dollar value? The fact that it used to be pegged to gold. And we know after 1971, the dollar isn't pegged to gold. And by the way, I love to show you guys, I own gold. This is a 1 ounce American Buffalo coin. Guess what? I own silver. So just like I own crypto, I own gold and silver as well. I own hard assets. Why? Because I understand what is money, and I understand what isn't money. And I understand that the only reason why the dollar ever had value is because it used to be pegged to gold. And that was the way that that's the way that we fooled the rest of the world. We convinced the rest of the world to drop the gold standard and let the dollar be the reserve currency and let the rest of the currencies float against the dollar. And the rest of the world is saying to themselves, you think that the rest of the world is sitting back and watching us print trillions of dollars to bail out our economy when they can't do the same? Because when they print money, it causes inflation because there's no outside demand for their money. So all of the money that they print, it just stays in their local economy, and we get to export our inflation because we are the reserve currency. At a certain point, people want different from that, and they want out of that. This is a good person to follow right here on Twitter. It says, WTF, what the F happened in 1971? And they have a website. I come to this website all the time, and you'll see once we went away from the gold standard, you start to see income inequality boom, because this whole trickle down economics, it doesn't work. So many things that are actually negative that's happening in our economy is happening because we don't have real money. We don't have money that actually you have to expend something to get. That's why gold was always viewed as money, because you can't print more gold. You have to physically go into the ground and find it, which is why they call gold God's money. The problem with gold, and this is why Bitcoin or Ethereum or one of these cryptocurrencies is eventually going to supplant it, is because it's easy to centralize gold. Why? Because who the hell is going to walk around with 300 bars of gold? You will always have to trust a third party to hold that gold for you. Always. With crypto, you don't have to do it. Why? Because it's digital. And when you understand the power of that, not having to trust a third party, now you understand where we can go with this. Because you're always going to have to trust the goldsmith, and you're going to have to trust that the goldsmith is not going to write more paper certificates than the actual physical gold that exists. Or you're going to have to trust a central bank or some type of custodian to actually hold that gold. Because if I buy a pair of shoes from you and you live in California and I live in New York, I have to send that gold to you. I have to trust the person that's going to deliver that gold. Bitcoin, Ethereum, they remove the trust aspect. So now you have a trustless, because we're dealing in code now. We're not trusting any third party. And here we go with our first troll. Get rid of him. So as you can see right here, income gains widely shared in early post-war decades, but not since then. You can see the 95th percentile, the median. Look at this, 1971. Income gains explode. Why is that? Because we adopted this policy of being able to print money out of thin air, and we adopted this idea of trickle-down economics, real GDP per capita, and median male income. Look at this split. We watched income, literally. Your income may be going up in nominal terms, but in real terms, your income's actually either equal or lower today than it was in 1971. What do I mean by that? Your money's worth less. So although you may be making $15 an hour, that $15 an hour cannot buy the same goods and services that it could buy in 1971. I remember when I was a kid, I can go into a store for $1. Literally with $1. And I felt rich. So we're going to go back and we're going to play Nipsey's video again. And then I'm going to give my commentary about what he's saying every about 10 to 15 seconds, because I really just think that it's so powerful, and rest in peace to him. But before I play this video, he was also backing something called Follow Coin, which I believe, based upon my initial research, doesn't even really exist anymore. You have to be careful with these rappers and entertainers who's trying to sell you on cryptocurrencies, on these different weed coins and stuff like this. Be very, very careful with that, because many of them, it's sad to say, but many of our people, they don't mind just being the face of something, but not really understanding what they represent. And as we go into this next bull market, you're going to see a lot of entertainers and celebrities who are going to be trying to sell you their version of a cryptocurrency. And it's not decentralized. It's no different than what's happening right now. It's probably a centralized coin or a token, and they're going to trying to present it to you. A cryptocurrency has to have certain attributes for it to be a cryptocurrency. And understand that a blockchain is just a database, but it's a specialized database. It's different. It's a database that actually maintains some type of a data, but it maintains it in a public, open, decentralized way. If the cryptocurrency that you're trying to get behind isn't decentralized, and it could be very easily centralized, then it's not a cryptocurrency, and it doesn't need to be on a blockchain. It can just be on a server, right? Like certain aspects, like you see people like, let's put this on the blockchain, let's put that on the blockchain. Everything doesn't need to be on the blockchain. There are certain things that can go on a server. And Ethereum does that really well with dApps, where the front end, that goes on like a regular centralized server with the website and stuff like that. The smart contract is the part that actually goes on the blockchain. And if you don't understand this, this is why I created My Tech Academy. Go and sign up and you'll learn about this. But I digress. Just be careful with what you're following and who you're following, because a lot of people are going to try to cash in on this. So let's play this again. I think it was the 5:15 mark.
Feel like one of the
becoming wealthy to the level that it's not gonna go away, and that we create a situation that it lasts longer than us.
I've always feel like one of the things I admire about you the most is you're always very forward thinking.
Right.
You were on a panel at ComplexCon. What are some of the takeaways that you would want people to know about like digital currency?
It's a way to think about money. It was 3 or 4 different perspectives. I was one of them. And the convo was just about what is money in 2017 going into 18. Is it paper? Is it agreed value? What makes something currency? So that was what the debate was, and everybody was revolving around that.
That goes back to what I was saying before. What is money, and what gives money value? You give money value. It goes back to the Matrix about you being a battery. The fact that you're willing to work for it, the fact that you're willing to sit there and pay for something for 30 years, that's what gives money value, because you are willing to transact in it, because you have confidence in it, because you're saying to yourself, I'm going to give 30 years of my life to work for this dollar to pay for this house. You are the money. You are the battery. And when you understand what the Matrix was trying to show you, when they had you in, when Neo was unplugged and they showed all of those people plugged in, so many of you are so plugged into this system that you will actually fight to defend the system that is abusing you. This is what kills me when I hear people say that somehow that Bitcoin and Ethereum and Tezos and all of these different protocols, that somehow that they're a scam. But yet you'll get up and you'll work for $1 that loses 3% of its value every single year, where the Fed is telling you they literally print this money out of thin air, and most of it is digital already. Most of the world's money, 95% to 97% of the world's money is already digital. You have to ask yourself, what type of digital economy do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a digital economy where everything you do is tracked and monitored and linked to your identity? Or do you want to live in a digital economy where you have control over how much of your privacy that you want to share and give to people? See, this is what you have to understand, because when you understand the technology and you understand that Bitcoin is just a protocol is just a set of instructions as to how this is supposed to operate. That's all a protocol is. Then you will begin to understand that it's not just a currency, but it's technology. So let's put Nip back on.
as a question. But just cryptocurrency is, I think it's like a form of karma. I think that the banks had such a crooked model that the engineers and software designers and programmers was like, we're not gonna fix this with a protest. We're not gonna fix this with a march on Wall Street. We're gonna fix this with technology. And they created a equalizer that just checkmated the whole game. You know, that's my view on it. It's just like the energy balancing out what went wrong over there, and just the disadvantage that the people were at. The cryptocurrencies balancing that out, or will in the long run. It's gonna take a while, but it's gonna create an option.
Keyword he just said, it will create an option. The same way we separated church and state is the same way we need to separate money and state. The free market should decide what is and isn't money. And that's the beautiful thing about crypto. You have people who believe that Ethereum is better than Bitcoin, or that Tezos is better than Ethereum, or that Monero is better than Bitcoin. That's the beautiful thing. Right now, what we're witnessing for the first time is we're watching people actually decide what is money and decide what type of economy and system they want to participate in. You're watching this happen in real time, where the marketplace is choosing what they want to use as money, what they want to work for, who they want to exchange it with. Remember, when you're born into an economic system. You're born into a national currency. Bitcoin is neutral money. It does not care what political party you belong to. It doesn't care what your gender is, what your race or ethnicity may be, which religious faction you belong to. It's permissionless. You don't need permission in order to participate in the Bitcoin network. It's borderless. No one nation controls it. No one entity controls it. You can come into the network as you please, and you can leave as you please. I want you to start thinking about, see, here in America, we have access to banking, adequate banking. We have Chase, we have JP Morgan, we have Wells Fargo. But close to 2 billion people throughout the world don't even have access to banking. They don't even have access to banks. I really want you to think about that. Like, close to 2 billion people throughout the world don't even have access to banking. And if you live underneath a repressive regime, an oppressive regime, an authoritative government who restricts what you can and can't do, like a lot of people do live underneath these type of governments, Bitcoin's a way of freedom. Because if you have an internet connection, you can participate in Bitcoin. So these things are important, not just for us to speculate on, but for people to have freedom. And Nipsey's going to touch on this about being able to send money internationally. Like, there are people who live in Lebanon and Tehran who their governments, they're experiencing 80% inflation in a day. Think about Zimbabwe. Think about Venezuela. They have over 1,000,000% inflation. Hyperinflation.
And you're not going to have to go operate in that system that led to like 2008, all the banks collapsing and the real estate bubble and all the malpractice of power that, you know, was happening in the banking industry and the central banks and all that. Mm-hmm. So it's like, damn, that was slick. Whoever came up with that was slick. If you really peep it from a political point of view, for sure. You know what I mean? That was real effortless checkmate. You know what I mean? They exited before anybody knew what was up.
And they still got bailed out.
You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy. It's interesting conversation. I've had it with some people, and, you know, some people are like stuck on money so much. And I'm like, man, money's not even backed by the gold system anymore. Yeah. So it's like, what is it really worth? It's whatever we, you know, want to put on it, but really it's just a piece of paper, you know, just like a credit card, just a piece of plastic. And it's the inferred value that we put on it. And as long as everybody assumes that it's worth that, it is. But if somebody tomorrow's like, that's not worth shit, it's really not backed by anything. So it's like, why not try out a new currency?
It's a lot of reasons that, you know, political reasons why it's a big thing, and it's financial reasons why it's a big thing, you know, and even like on a simple level of like sending money overseas or something to be able to do that peer to peer and not have no middleman with a fee. And with a policy, it's just a direct transaction that's, regulated by a public ledger. That's a big innovation if you understand like banking and PayPal and all that type of shit. Somebody told me that it's like what the internet was in like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. And think about what that turned into and all the billion-dollar businesses that was built off of that.
Now, this is funny because I've been saying this on this channel now for well over a year think about how big the internet became, is, and will continue to be. What a lot of you don't understand is that the internet is just an application that is running on top of a multiple of different protocols, such as TCP, IP, HTTP, HTTPS. I've been telling you this over and over and over again. And the internet is just a application that's running on top of those protocols. And I've been telling you that Bitcoin is a protocol, Ethereum is a protocol, Tezos is a protocol, and you're going to see a whole bunch of different decentralized applications and networks built on top of those protocols. You're going to see dApps, decentralized applications built on top of these protocols. What do you think DeFi is? DeFi is the applications that are being built. It's the stack that's being built on top of the Ethereum blockchain. The difference is, like I've been trying to explain to you guys time and time again, is that TCP and IP, they weren't able to capture the actual wealth that was built on top of the stack. You have a chance now to invest in these protocols. So now Ethereum is going to capture a majority of the wealth that's going to be created on top of it. And you're getting a chance now to participate. See, in what's happening now with the internet, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Instagram, Facebook, they're able to capture all of the wealth. The protocols didn't capture the wealth. The corporations did. In this boom, and this is what I'm talking about the stack, right? So when you think about this, here you have Ethereum. Ethereum is the base layer protocol. And then on top of that, you have Maker, you have Compound, you have Synthetics, right? This is layer 1 and layer 2, right? So this is the borrow and lending rates, right? This is the DAI saving rates and the stability fee. And then on top of that, you have the application layer where you're going to have Ethereum locked inside of these applications. Right here, you have Uniswap. That's a DEX. That's a decentralized exchange. You have Chainlink, which is an Oracle, right? So you're getting a chance, but most of the wealth and the value, Ethereum is going to capture that, because in order to run these different protocols and these different dApps and exchanges that will run on top of Ethereum, you need ETH, and you have to lock up ETH, which means you have to buy ETH. And ETH is just the currency of Ethereum. You have to buy Ether. So when you understand this, you understand where we're going, and you understand. So when Nipsey's telling you that this is the internet, this is the internet 2.0, or I would say 3.0. And look at this right here. It says Grayscale is now buying 1.5 times the amount of Bitcoin being mined. I just want you to think about that. One institution, they have been buying more since the halving happened. They have been buying more Bitcoin than's actually even being mined. They're gobbling everything up. I believe they said if they continue on this pace, they'll own 3% of all of the Bitcoin in existence. So you already see big institutions coming into this. You have people like Chamath in this space, Paul Tudor Jones coming into this space, Mike Novogratz in this space, Tim Draper in this space. Big time people are already getting involved. JP Morgan 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they said it was a scam. Then come to find out they're participating in it. The big money is coming. It's happening. And we're talking about a $300 billion market cap of all cryptos. So you know the money is going to come. And if they're printing it digitally, so let's say that you believe that this is a scam. Let's say that you think that this is a scam. Or let's say that you think that somehow the Illuminati and the Rothschilds are behind it. A wealth transfer is about to happen. Now, you as being a black person, understanding the racial wealth gap data, understanding that most black people are poor, this is a wealth transfer happening right in your face. Why would you not want to participate? Even if you think it's a scam, the fact that a wealth transfer is happening, why would you not want to participate? Because you know it's going higher. When you have institutions buying 1.5 times more Bitcoin than is being mined, you know that the price is going to pump. And if you're dealing with an asset, right? You're dealing with an asset that's fixed and capped. That means that you're dealing with a supply where when you look at the stock to flow ratio, like this is harder money than gold is. Because you can always find, like every now and then you always find more gold. You will not find more than 21 million Bitcoin. It's hard coded into the actual source code of the project. So when you understand this stuff, even if you believe that it's backed by the Illuminati and the Bilderbergs, a wealth transfer is happening. Why would you not want to participate and stick your hand in the wealth transfer and capture some of the wealth? That's like sitting up here saying, well, I think that Apple is a scam, but you're watching it IPO. Why would you not buy some of it? Even if you think that Apple is garbage and you think that the products suck and you think that Microsoft makes better products or PCs are better personal computers, you're watching the company IPO. You can go back 15, 20 years ago, whenever the company came out, or 25 years ago, whenever they IPO'd. You wouldn't buy Apple when you could, if you could buy when it first IPO'd. You wouldn't buy Microsoft when it first IPO'd, knowing what they would become now. You're literally living through that right now. You're watching this happen. Why would you not want to participate? So it's common sense. So let's put Nip back on. I'll put this in the chat too, so you can go and read this later on. The best way to start out, I have a video on my channel. A best way to get started is to start with Coinbase. I cover this inside of my Tech Academy. Again, I would recommend that you go and take a look at that. But let's put Nip back on.
That's like what the cryptocurrency blockchain opportunity is similar to. So it'll take a while before we see it mature and really turn into what it can potentially be.
Right, and you're not just talking about it; you actually invested in the company.
Yeah, definitely. Follow coin. It's a coin, and it's also it's a utility. You know, and I spoke about it and everything.
Yeah, there's a dope documentary on YouTube about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's get back to the album real quick. Yeah.
So, Nipsey Hussle did a beautiful job at it, articulating so many of my points. For those of you who are interested in learning, I have my Tech Academy, which I've launched. We have a free 7-day trial. Give me 1 second. So let's copy this. And let's paste this right here in the chat. And again, this will be in the description below as well. As you can see, we have a free 7-day trial. We cover everything about how to buy. You can buy on Cash App. You can buy your crypto on Coinbase. I just put some new content into the Academy where I teach you how to send your Bitcoin from Cash App. So your KYC yourself, which stands for Know Your Customer. You'll then send it to your ledger, and then you can take that crypto and you can take it off of the ledger, and you can actually send it through a decentralized exchange known as a DEX and convert it over to Monero. And at that point, you no longer own the crypto. So when the IRS man comes looking, and again, I'm not here to teach you how to not pay your taxes. I'm just simply here to teach you how the technology actually operates and works. So that, I'm going to wrap up like this before I start taking some questions. Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace to Nip. He did an amazing job as to, really introducing people and onboarding people. And I really think, and again, I don't like to make this a racial thing, but as Black people, we tend to not focus on looking ahead. A lot of us get so caught up into what we can see right now or what's happening right now around us that we don't understand that the world is ever changing. It's always changing and forever changing. And after what's happening with this whole pandemic, I promise you the world is not going to be the same. So much wealth has been destroyed in our communities. So many businesses are going to file bankruptcy and they're just not going to come back. I believe I was reading an article the other day where Microsoft retail stores said they're going to shut down all of their retail stores. We're seeing a second spike now happen where a lot of these states are going to shut down again. This is going to be a contraction as far as the real economy is concerned. The stock market is not the real economy. And I always emphasize this to you that there will be a recession in certain segments and sectors of the economy. It will feel like a depression in other sections of the economy. And then in some places, it's going to feel like, a boom is happening. If you're playing in Hertz or you're playing in some of these airline stocks or these cruise stocks, you probably are making a killing because some of them are up 100%. Well, guess what? There are some cryptocurrencies that's up 10x in the past month, because you're dealing with assets where their market caps are so tiny, they're so small. When you look, like some cryptos are up 4x in a week because you're dealing in a new asset class, a growing asset class. And just to kind of show you what I'm talking about, when you come here and you look at these valuations of these different cryptocurrency projects, you have cryptocurrencies that's worth $73 million. What do you think is going to be the price of these cryptos once they get to $1 billion? What do you think Tezos is going to be worth at $100 billion? And where's Compound at? Let's pull up Compound just to show you what I'm talking about. Look at this. In the past month, Compound went from $64 and topped as high as $330 just in the past month. And it's going to, and that's just because it got listed on Coinbase. And that move happened in a matter of what? It happened from June. We went from $60 on June 18th all the way up to $346 in a matter of 4 days. So from the 17th to the 21st, that quick, that happened. And remember, we're not even in a bull market yet in crypto. We're not even in a bull market yet. We're still in a bear market. I'm telling you, a bulk of the wealth that I was able to acquire happened because of catching these pumps in crypto back in 2017. I was literally out watching cryptos pump 5x in a day. In a day. This is the type of gains that you can get in crypto. Now, with great opportunity will come great risks, right? Which is why I constantly emphasize and stress to you, get education. If you don't understand something, don't put any money into it. Invest in education. And guess what? If you don't have any wealth or disposable income, what's the next thing I always tell you? Invest in skills. Invest in getting skills that can actually make you more profitable in the marketplace so that you can earn more money. And again, I mainly focus on tech. So let's take some questions. Can you speak on any good entry points on Ethereum? Right now, if you believe that Ethereum is undervalued, right? It's at $220. And the all-time high is what, $1,400. This is not financial advice. I'm buying right now because I believe in dollar cost averaging, right? I don't believe in buying everything. If I have 10 grand to invest, I'm not going all in with my 10 grand at one time. I'll build a core position So I'll take $3,000 and I'll buy a bulk. And then let's say every week or every month, I'll add to my investments. So I'll buy in chunks of $500, right? I'll buy $500 a month, $500 a month. Or let's say I only have $100. I'm dollar cost averaging. I don't believe in ever going all in any investment, because one thing when you're dealing with this, like Nipsey Hussle said, is going to take time. You're going to have these booms and busts, and you're going to also have these people who can manipulate the market. When you see Grayscale coming in the marketplace, these people, they're purchasing hundreds of millions of dollars in increments. They can push this market around very easy, and it's going to give you good buying opportunities. Go back and watch my videos. When Ethereum crashed to $100, guess what I did? I stepped in and bought more. And bought more. That's what you do. You dollar cost average, right? So you actually are bringing down your risk, and you're buying. People say, oh, why would you buy when it crashed? That's the best time to buy. If you believe in what you're investing in, and if you understand what you're investing in. So I don't try to time the market. I don't try to play this, technical analysis, all this Fibonacci retracement stuff. I play the game of I believe in this space for the next 3 to 5 years. Right? I believe in this space for the next 3 to 5 years. So because I believe in this space for the next 3 to 5 years, I don't really get stressed about where I'm buying at, because I believe Ethereum is going to hit at least $5,000, $7,000. And if I believe that it's going to hit $5,000 to $7,000, I don't care if I buy at 220. I don't care if I buy at 200. I don't care if I purchased it at 250 and it's now at 100, because I'm going to buy more. Because remember, I'm not rich like Grayscale. I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. So when I earn money, I take a portion of my money and I put it in gold and silver, and I'll take a portion of my money and I put it into crypto, right? You know me, I own gold. I own silver. I don't know where my ledger's at. Oh, it's right here. And I own crypto as well, right? Like I'm diversified, I'm hedged. So when I earn money, I take 50% of what I earn and I park it into precious metals or into crypto. And for you, and this is not financial advice, excuse me, for you, it may be different, right? We all have different amounts of wealth, right? If I'm on a fixed income, well, I may only buy $100 here. So guess what? I may not focus on Bitcoin, because, you have to think about it. Ethereum is going to pump harder than Bitcoin will, because look at the market cap. The market cap of Bitcoin is $165 billion. The market cap of Ethereum is only $24 billion. Which one do you think is going to pump harder? Which one is easier to double? It's going to be easier for Ethereum to double, triple, or even quadruple. Why? Because the market cap is smaller. And then the further down you go, when you start looking at Tezos, market cap's $1 billion, almost 2. Look at Chainlink, 1.5. What do you think the price of Chainlink's going to be when they get to a $20 billion market cap or $50 billion? We're talking about what, 10x, 15x? Now look at this. Again, I'm giving you some real good information right now. Ripple is garbage. It should not be in the top 10. Bitcoin Cash is garbage. It should not be in the top 10. Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is garbage. It should not be in the top 10. Litecoin is garbage. It should not be in the top 10. EOS is garbage. It should not be in the top 10. And Cardano is garbage. It should not be in the top 10. Many of these projects, they're hanging on by the thread from the 2017 boom. But if you understand the technology and you understand the development, and you see there's really no development happening in a major way on these projects. And when I say that, I mean actually real use cases. When you look at Ethereum and you look at DeFi, DeFi is on fire. Now, is it some schemes and scams starting to pump right now in DeFi? Of course. There will always be schemes and scams with this 100% return on your investment and interest rates. We know that. And those people who are falling for that hype, they're going to catch the bus. But I'm telling you, these DeFi projects are going to make their way up into this top 10, because you see development happening. You don't see any real development happening in these garbage coins. You hear promises, right? No, in DeFi, you actually see things happening. So that's just a tip for you to understand. There's a lot of people out here in these type like VeChain and Atom, right, and Ontology, all of these projects that's sitting out here. And I'm telling you, they're coming for that top 10 because there's real development and real world use cases and applications happening in these cryptocurrencies. And you're going to see a lot, especially these forks of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. Come on. Those are jokes. We know Craig Wright's a fraud. Sorry for going on a rant. But let me go back into here. Eli, any good KYC tumblers? What happens with a lot of these like coin joins and Wasabi and Samurai and all of these different mixers is that certain exchanges will flag your Bitcoin. See, that's one thing about Bitcoin is that it's not fungible, right? Like you can actually track the Bitcoin because each Bitcoin actually has like a UTXO set. So you can track the UTXO sets. And if that Bitcoin that you have, that transaction at UTXO, if it's been flagged, when it goes to certain exchanges, either they won't accept it or they'll actually hold it. So for example, like if you have Bitcoin that has been a part of like some type of a hack, like where somebody hacked it and stole it, it was a stolen Bitcoin, like certain exchanges have it flagged. So what I like to do, me personally, is I don't mind KYCing myself, but there's ways that you can run it through a different DEX, and you can run it through BISC, and then you can convert it to Monero and then convert back to Bitcoin. And that way you take care of the whole UTXO sets, you clean it. And this involves you with you need to make sure that you're running the Tor network. You need to make sure that you're using prepaid debit cards. Again, I don't recommend this type of stuff for people because it's complicated. But I do cover some of that stuff in the academy. Like I said, I just uploaded some new content. But I don't really trust a lot of these mixers. I prefer Monero because Monero utilizes ring signatures, stealth addresses, and the ledger isn't public in the way that Bitcoin is. So it gives you more transparency if you really understand what you're doing. And it doesn't use the same public address over and over. You get a new address every time. So I like to run my Bitcoin through Monero and then run it through another DEX like BISC, and then convert back to Bitcoin. Because at that point, you're not tracking me. You're just not. If you understand the technology, you can't track me. And if I'm utilizing the Tor network, the Onion router, and I'm changing my IP with a VPN, and I have I'm using Proton email, you're not tracking me. Like there's just no way you can track me. See, you can track Bitcoin, you can't track Monero. Michael Clark says, so you don't keep any emergency cash? I don't need emergency cash because I can just sell my gold. Like there's bullion dealers right here in New York City. If I need some cash, I could just sell my gold. Excuse me. I have daily cash flow coming in from my businesses, so I don't really need emergency cash like that. Like I have money frequently that comes in from my various different businesses that I run, from the drop shipping businesses and stuff like that. So I don't need like emergency cash. Like seriously, I can sell some Bitcoin if I have to. I can literally take some crypto off of my ledger. If I really needed cash, I can take crypto off my ledger, send it to Coinbase, and by 4 p.m. that day, the money would be in my wallet. I mean, in my bank account. I could literally put it in my wallet on Coinbase and send it to my bank account, and it'll be there by 4 p.m. that day. I don't really see any serious emergency that I'm going to have that I really need a big amount of emergency cash. Like I have cash. Gold is money, silver is money, and what's the name? My crypto's money. And I do have money in my bank account, but I don't need to have like, hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in my bank account. I'd rather have that sitting in assets. Somebody said, "What's my Cash App?" I have my PayPal there if you want to support me. Thank you, by the way. In your opinion, is the market in a correction since it's tied to the stock market? I believe the Dow will hit 18,000 That will put crypto down 20%. That's right now the crypto market is heavily tied to the stock market. And I hope the crypto market crashes. It gives me more time to buy. But after what we just witnessed, do you really think the Fed is going to let the market crash? We know the Fed's literally in the market buying corporate debt now. Do you really think that so we know that the stock market's a game. It's rigged. We know that. We know that they're not going to let the stock market crash. They don't care if you're unemployed. They don't care if they shut the stores down and take your business away or your job away. You'll just have to wait, another 4 to 6 weeks to get your stimulus. But we know Wall Street's going to get their fix immediately. So the question now revolves around, do you think that they're going to let the market crash? I don't believe so. Because they've already the Fed has shown its hand. The Fed is going to buy everything in sight. Okay, so we know that now. So now, let's say the market corrects 10%, 15%. We know the Fed's going to come and bail everyone out. So, and again, when you start understanding that the crypto market is a global market, and we watch the Fed print $4.5 trillion here and $6 trillion here, that's just one central bank. There's central banks all over the world. So we understand that the upside is so high. Excuse me. Do I believe that the market's going to crash again? Yes, I do believe that. I believe that the pandemic we're going to have a second wave, and I believe the market probably will tank another 10, 15%, and then the Fed's going to come in and bail everyone out again. I think a lot of this is just political. I think a lot of this is to try to gain momentum for Joe Biden. And the only way that you can really get Trump out of here or make Trump supporters skeptical about Trump is if you see the stock market crash, right? Because that was Trump's whole selling point, is the stock market, right? So when you understand that a lot of this is political as well. Because Joe Biden cannot beat Trump. The only way that I don't even think that Joe Biden is going to be able to debate Trump. You could tell he's declining, and he has dementia, clearly. So he's not beating Trump, right? And Trump's going to mop the floor with him if they have a debate. So you have to create all of this social unrest and anxiety to try to steal the vote that way. And I really believe that, the Democrats are really going to try to mobilize and do that. So I can definitely see the market crashing. I could definitely see a lot of corporate CEOs being on board with that because a lot of people don't like Trump. Now, whether you believe in Trump or not, I'm not here. Listen, you know me. The Republican Party and the Democrat Party is just the left and right wing of the same bird. I'm not here about, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. They're both the same if you ask me. We have enough. We've struggled under Republican presidents. We've struggled under Democrat presidents. The Democrats had the House. They had the Senate. We struggled. The Republicans had the House and Senate. We still struggled. So I don't get caught up in this whole, drain the swamp versus that. They're all the same to me. This system is corrupt. It's flawed and will always be. And that's my take and that's my stance. I'm not telling you what you should do politically. I'm just telling you where I stand. Yes, Courtney Gibson. I understand that. I think it's called wrapped Bitcoin. I believe it's been on Ethereum for a while. There's other versions of Ethereum as well other versions of Bitcoin that's sitting on Ethereum as well. But these are centralized versions of Bitcoin. They're not decentralized. I just want you to understand that. So it's not decentralized. Do you really trust the Nano Ledger X considering it has Bluetooth connection, which can be hacked like the S because once unplugged, it's completely offline? Just because you hack the Bluetooth, you cannot hack the chipset. You have to understand. When you understand how a private key is generated, right? A private key is ran through a hash function. So you cannot deduce through the hash or through the public key what the private key is. So it's just no way because the chipset is separate from the actual Bluetooth part of it. So there's no way because the device never reveals the private key. So once you understand that, you never reveal the private key. So there's no way that the Bluetooth can see the private key if you never reveal the private key. It reveals a hash of the private key. So now the problem, if you look at Treasure, see, there's a way where, because of the way that you input with the buttons, I believe it's a way that they can basically figure out what your private key is. Again, but you have to physically get the device with the Treasure. What you have to understand about hardware wallets is that I'm a believer that any physical device can be hacked, right? I believe any physical device can be hacked. The purpose of a ledger isn't about whether or not it can or can't be hacked. And see, Andreas goes into this. You have to ask yourself this question. If I don't know how much Bitcoin you have, why would I go out of my way trying to hack your Wi-Fi? Think about it. Let's say Ledger has what? 5,000 customers. I would have to number one, know that you have a sizable amount of Bitcoin to even want to go through that hassle to try to hack you. You are synonymous from your address. So just because I may know that wallet or that address has a lot of Bitcoin, I don't know physically who that person is. So this is why it's important to be synonymous with your address. Because again, how can I hack you if I don't even know you have Bitcoin? How can I hack your Bluetooth or your Wi-Fi or however they're going to try to do it if I don't even know you have the Bitcoin? Right? The very first step to protecting your wealth and protecting your assets is you should not be telling people you own a lot of Bitcoin. And if you do, you should not have your devices around certain people where those type of things can happen, right? Now, the next thing is, the sole purpose of this is to basically protect your keys in a way where you should be storing it in a proper place. And if it's lost, you always can back it up with your recovery phrase. But you should always assume that these devices could be hacked, which is why you should, number one, not be bragging about how much crypto you have. And number two, you should have a safe and have it in a safe and secure place. Same way if you own precious metals, right? People always talk about, well, can the ledger get hacked? A ledger has yet to be hacked. If I have gold coins, guess what can happen? You could break into my house and steal my gold. I would trust my wealth in cryptography and math before I trust my wealth in gold coins. A big amount of my wealth. I would feel more comfortable with my ledger than my gold coins. No, Ethereum doesn't have a hard cap. Ethereum right now is in an exploratory phase. They're exploring. And what they do is they have a coin burn. So they will burn any type of inflation that comes in there. I believe it's 1.8% is what they are trying to do. So it's a hard cap just like Bitcoin, but Ethereum is just doing it in a different way where any excess inflation that comes in, they burn the coins. They do a coin burn. So I know it, but I don't know it enough to properly speak about it right now. I'm going to cover that in the Ethereum course, but I believe that's how it works like that. I just don't know the exact technicals as to how it works. So I like to be accurate when I speak, but they do like a coin burn. They burn the inflation because Ethereum is all about. They are trying to develop the ecosystem, right? And I think that Ethereum. See, with Bitcoin, once the Bitcoin is lost, it's over. Like if you lose your Bitcoin, it's done. So that puts a floor under Bitcoin because like if you lose your hard drive or you lose your keys, that Bitcoin's forever. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. With Ethereum, they introduce like new coins just to avoid that because right now they're really focused on trying to actually develop the ecosystem. So I think that Ethereum, in my opinion, I really like the way that Ethereum is going about trying to build their ecosystem. Some people may say that it's centralized around Vitalik, that it allows a lot of double spending. It will. But remember, we're breaking things as we go. So No, Ethereum isn't owned by anyone. It was created by Vitalik. Ethereum is owned by Vitalik. I mean, Ethereum is not owned by anyone. It was created by Vitalik Buterin. He originally was trying to create Ethereum on top of Bitcoin, but no one owns the protocol for Ethereum. Ethereum 2.0. I like Ethereum 2.0. Ethereum Classic is a dead project. They got too stuck on ideology when the whole DAO hack happened and everything, and that project is dead now. Ethereum Classic is dead. You can't insure gold coins. You can't insure gold. I believe that some people have tried to create some type of companies or mechanisms, but they're not anything serious that you should consider. So, and I know I know Geico will not let you do it, because I tried to do it with Geico, because that's who I have for car insurance, and they won't let me do it. I would never short Bitcoin, Rashard, because when Bitcoin starts to pump, it pumps, and Bitcoin will rip your face off. You trying to short Bitcoin, you will get crushed. And if you try to do it with leverage on like BitMEX or Bybit, you will get crushed. But listen, if you're a degenerate gambler, and I'm not saying that to try to, disparage you or put you down, and I'm just being funny, it's a joke. Listen, if you're a gambler, if you catch one thing about Bitcoin, if you catch it either way, up or down, it moves. So listen, Bitcoin trading is not for me. I tried trading Bitcoin for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. I said, no, it's too volatile for me. I'll stick to trading futures. Ethereum's going to be the next course in night. I first started with Bitcoin because I know Bitcoin inside and out. I know a lot about Ethereum, but I like to take my time. I like to when I'm presenting information, I like to make sure that I've done my due diligence and I'm not just briefly remembering something. And you have to understand that Ethereum is much more complicated than Bitcoin is, because Ethereum has a lot of moving parts as to what's happening. And it's more technical than Bitcoin, which is a good thing. Because remember that the scripting language that Bitcoin utilizes, it's not Turing complete, which some would say is a good thing, and then some would say is a bad thing. So there's just certain things that you can't build on top of Bitcoin that you can build on Ethereum. But the problem is, if you can build anything, well, you introduce a lot of bugs. So Ethereum is going to be the next course that we cover. I like to start with Bitcoin because if you can understand Bitcoin, then you can understand what a blockchain is, and then you can understand what Bitcoin's limitations are and why we need an Ethereum. But don't understand also that doesn't mean that Ethereum is better than Bitcoin, because if a lot of these bugs and stuff continue to keep happening, and if Ethereum can't scale with all of these promises, it's going to crash, right? So a lot of people believe that even with Ethereum 2.0, with all of the things that they're coming out with, it's still not going to be able to scale. Because remember, ETH was supposed to launch this whole proof of stake and all of this stuff that was supposed to come last year, and they're still delaying it. So there's a lot of, that's why you have to be careful with crypto. There's a lot of hype behind some of these things. I use OBS. I use OBS Studios. No, Ledger. Remember, Charles Fenton, your private keys are generated locally on your device. Like when you're putting in that mnemonic phrase, you're generating that stuff locally on your computer. I mean, on your hardware wallet. So it's not like they were able to generate it then send it to you. And remember, you can generate literally infinite amounts of keys on this device. Like the first 24 words that you get, that's not the only passphrase that you can use. You do know that you have an infinite amount of private keys that you can generate on your device, right? Think like a lot of people get that confused, right? They'll take out their ledger and they'll get their first 24 words and they'll think that, oh, these are the only 24 words or the only private key that I can get on this device. You have an infinite amount of private keys that you can generate. So if you don't trust it, if you believe that the first set of 24 keys that you have, you can restart the device, right? Wipe the device clean and just generate a whole mnemonic phrase, a whole new set of phrase of 24 words, right? So it's like I said, it's mathematically impossible that Ledger could have everyone's private key on every device because you can generate an infinite amount of private keys on a device. And I should do a video on that inside of My Tech Academy. Thank you for telling me that, mentioning that question. That's a really, really good, because I can make a whole set of a whole video on how you can generate a whole set of new mnemonic phrases inside of your hardware wallet. So you don't have to go with the first one. Like let's say that you don't trust Ledger, you can say, you know what, I'm not going to go with the first set of 24 words. I'm gonna create a whole new set. Or you can go as far as create 10 different ones. Like some people, they have 10 different instances of a wallet. Like they have a main one, they have a side one. You generate an infinite amount of public keys and private keys on your Ledger device. And most of the time, if you have a question, you can Google. Like Google is your friend with crypto. The course, I structured the course in a way to introduce new people to crypto. I, by no stretch of the imagination, am I an expert like Andreas is, right? So this is why I try to tell a lot of you, I take complex things and I condense them in a digestible format for the average person to understand. But this is just the beginning of your knowledge base. Remember, I've been doing this now for close to 8 years, maybe over 8. So yes, I'm very knowledgeable. But then you have people like Andreas, who they've been doing this for 20 plus years, 30 plus years, and they've been doing it from the security side. I've been doing this just from the trial and error, using different things. So my job is to onboard you and then give you enough information so you can say to yourself, do I want to dive deeper down this rabbit hole, or am I good right here? We're just buying and selling. So just to show you who I'm talking about and who I'm speaking about, just pull it up. Give me 1 second, right? Because Andreas is very, very technical in what he is explaining to people. Give me 1 second. Andreas Antonopoulos. Andreas is very, very technical. He gives a lot of valuable information for free. But again, as I said before, the problem with this is that there's just so much, right? So it's like, where do you start? Like if you come here to his channel, it's like, yes, he gives you a lot of information, but where do you start? Where do you start? So a lot of the questions that you may have once you finish my course, now you could come here and get a deeper understanding on those topics, because I'm telling you, this is some complex stuff. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, this is some highly technical stuff when you're dealing with cryptography, hash functions. I've taken courses on cryptography. Some of these courses are like 3 months long. So that's why I know a lot of this stuff, but I would never compare myself to Andreas. Like, this is a man who's worked in, IT and computer security and data security. So, but look how many videos he has. So if you have any questions, like, and you want like a deeper understanding, trust me, come here. He definitely will help you out. And let me post his channel in the chat for you guys. So, and we're coming up on an hour and 24 minutes. So I'm going to leave the video here. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Please do me a favor and like this video. Please share this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Make sure that you join my mailing list. For those of you who are looking for an introduction into crypto and blockchain technology, I launched My Tech Academy. We have a free 7-day trial. And I believe tomorrow we'll probably do like a Q&A on the channel, because some of you have donated and asked me some questions or emailed me some questions. So we'll probably do a Q&A from there. But again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a blessed and beautiful evening.